Hello there everyone. So I just wanted to cast up this short little relaxed video on a Sunday evening to share some of my thoughts about what an artist is, because it's somewhat different from some of the standard definitions that are out there, and I think a good place to start would be to describe them first. So we're all familiar with the common application of the term, where we might find someone engaged in some sort of creative endeavor, such as a painter or a musician in a band or a thespian or an author who writes their own fiction. We could see someone operating like that and quite comfortably apply the descriptor of artist to them. But then we also have this expanded application of the term, where we might perceive someone engaged in a particular pursuit. It doesn't have to be media-based, who displays a remarkable level of performance to the point where we have to make a differentiation between them and the rest of the good talent around them. It might be a chef, for instance, who's worked in that profession for such a long time that they've accumulated all of this knowledge and experience over the years. And they've also got something remarkable about them, something that's very difficult to put into words, that they bring to whatever they do that makes their performance noteworthy. And when we see such people, we don't merely qualify them by their professions, such as chef or surgeon. We say, these people are not merely professionals, these people are artists. So there's the two common applications of the term artist, and now I'll give you mine. I think that an artist is not merely someone who creates with media. Also, an artist is not only someone who's exceptionally talented at something either. An artist is someone who has devoted their lives to the fulfillment of a vision. A vision. That's what distinguishes an artist from a creator or a gifted individual. Though I do think that in order to succeed in realizing said vision, you need both of those things included. So let's talk a bit about vision then. A vision isn't something that you just suddenly decide upon. It's not something that can be artificially invoked. A vision is typically something that grows up inside you, and when it announces itself to you, you know that you have it. A vision can stem out of the things that we're doing, such as creating so many different iterations of drawings or books that we eventually begin to hone a signature style, which is really to say that we find our own natures in the things that we create. And out of this style often grows a uniqueness of perspective that grants us the first inklings of a visionary component. And that's what definitely happened to me. I decided in my late 20s that I wanted to change my life and put myself back in education and become a practicing artist in the world. That wasn't my vision though. That came later, because I started to develop my own artwork in tandem with my education, so that when I graduated, I'd already have this baseline from which to work from. And that's when I started to really define the visual characteristics of XELASOMA. And it was also around this time that I started reading into subjects that up until then I only had a casual interest, and that's where I found thinkers like Joseph Campbell and Julian Jaynes and Carl Jung, and I started to interpret my own artwork through the lenses that these thinkers had inferred into me through their books, and so that granted another layer to what was developing here. So as I found myself in the work that I was making, and my idiosyncrasies were shaping the way that I worked with the medium, so my horizons were also being expanded from all of this study, and a new impetus, shall we say, for creating and also understanding what had been created was starting to develop. But it wasn't until years later when all of this really came together and my unconscious started to send me impressions, provocations, revelations about what the project could be. And that's where I discovered my vision, my mythos, as it were. So that's an illustration of how a vision can grow out of our action. Now, vision is a very complicated thing because you don't quite appreciate in the beginning what you're getting yourself into. And a large part of that derives from the fact that vision is emergent. It grows up inside us. And you don't necessarily have a full reckoning for what a vision will become or how it's going to have its way with you until you're already deep into it. There's this demonic quality to having a vision as well. It's like entering into a Faustian pact, in that in one sense it makes you, and in another sense it becomes the curse that you bear. Because what you receive from it is a grounding context for your action. You're no longer just a being moving and subsisting in life. You now possess this additional substrate that awards life with a superior meaning. In simple terms, we could say that it finally awards life with a purpose that we can believe in. And so it not only gives context, it substrates your psychology as well. For the first time in your life, you feel like you're working towards something greater than just being an individual. And that's really quite something, isn't it? Because most people would think the other way round, that through inviting a vision into your life, you eventually discover your true individuality beyond the false prescriptions of society that imbibes you with this consumer individuality. No, that's the way that it seems, but that's not quite the reality in practice, because with a vision, you transcend individuality by conceiving the possibility of something that emerges from beyond your own limits and which others besides yourself can participate in. So just because there's, as Jung would put it, an individuation component to the process of working towards a vision, does not mean that ultimately, when the vision is finally accomplished, it doesn't transcend the limits of our own lives and become potentiated in the lives of others. And if you think about it, that's why we work so hard to realize these things. If it was only for us, then it wouldn't be worth it. Consciously or unconsciously, we want our vision to spill over our own banks and find its way into something beyond us. So a vision grows within an artist, only to ultimately transcend the artist. Alright, so now I want to talk about some of the consequences of having a vision, because a vision is often put across as this very optimistic, inspiring thing, and it is in many respects, but there's another strong dimension to this that has to be accounted for. And like I said, we don't usually realize this aspect of it until we're already several years down the line and we find ourselves reflecting back on all of the ways that our lives have changed because of it. So we can't really talk about vision without also talking about sacrifice. Sacrifice is instrumental to vision, and it's one of the main criteria that defines this type of artist from the more casual type, the hobbyist, let's say. Because once you sign on the dotted line and you accept vision as the primary part of your life, you are trading off a lot of the comforts and pleasures that are just a normal part of many other people's lives. For instance, time. If you want to work towards a vision that's worth anything, then chances are you are going to have to invest inordinate amounts of time into it, which naturally comes with consequences to other aspects of your life. Your social life is going to hell if you have a vision. Romantic relationships are very difficult to maintain because, as anyone will tell you, if you have a powerful vision or you're going out with someone who has, you can't have a relationship without this other thing being there at all times. It's like having a jealous partner that constantly hounds you and wants to know where you are all the time. I don't know if this is the same for anybody else out there, but for me, when I see friends and I return home the next day, I start to feel guilty for not being at home and not doing the work, and I start running through schemas in my mind about all of the things I could have done and all of the work that I could have accomplished, even though work is the only thing that I've been doing for the last few months. And this all illustrates how vision changes you. You were not going to be the same person you were before you committed to this new life. And honestly, even though you're going to come to points in that where the simplicity of the past seems favorable, you know that's not an option. When you make the pact, there's no going back to the way things were, because that's all a part of the sacrifice. So I think that's all I'm going to say for now. This has just been a little video that I wanted to throw up there to share with you some of my personal thoughts about what I consider when I hear the word artist. This is what I think of. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next bicameral video, which should be up this Wednesday. So thanks very much for watching this, and I'll see you again.